So you're in the right place. If you get really pissed off with how much organic food is, or really triggered by the price of coffee, or are constantly wasting hours and burning too many calories with like 35 tabs open when you just sat down to buy a tent to go camping with, but you've got to compare all the coupons, all the prices, when's on sale, and then you're like, oh my God, I've spent 3 hours trying to save $15.99 and I can't even remember what tab that was on, and now it's expired. Anyone else do those things? Right? Well, like my Sunday used to be like, oh, Marks and Spencer's discounts food at 6, Tesco's does it at 8:30. I'm going to walk that far to save 40p on the fact that that's reduced in that supermarket, not that supermarket, or only look at what's on yellow sticker when I go to shop. Like the amount of time and energy I wasted in trying to save money, I could have earned billions if I'd been focusing on how to make money. You're in the right place if part of you enjoys the struggle with money and feels kind of virtuous, that you kind of like have a tough time with it and somehow that's like makes you a good person. You're in the right place if you want to change the world, you want to make it a more beautiful, a more loving, a more healing space, and resent the fact you need money to make that happen. You're in the right space if you're doing loads of healing work and don't understand why the matrix still exists, but kind of know you need to be in it and see money as part of the matrix and not part of 5D New Earth reality that we should all be in by now. Right? You're in the right space if you've got money but you see it as other people's, whether that be your parents or your partner, and you want to understand how you can continue to have the things that you love but through your own resources. You're in the right space if you know how to make money in corporate but don't understand how you can have the same level of abundance by living by your gifts or your passion or your side hustle. Any hands up for anybody that feel like that speaks or resonates, or any double hands? Whoop whoop. Right. It sucks not having money because it takes up so much time, right? It's like, not only does it take up like literal hours in the day where you're like, oh, I just came on to buy a new lamp because my one in my bedside is broken, and suddenly I went in to get it from like Lidl, and now I'm looking at Heels and Selfridges, and suddenly I want a lamp that's £350, not £2.99. And I'm feeling slightly schizophrenic because I don't know which version of me is allowed to tap in the credit card numbers, right? Like it just, that bandwidth, that like breaking ourselves apart a bit more each day because of this thing called money. Or friends doing really well, or like you're buying birthday presents for someone and you're like, I love you so much, I want you to have this beautiful thing, but I don't want to let go of it because I really want it, right? Like that kind of, all that inner binding that we do energetically because of money. And money is great because does anyone love freedom? Right? It gives you more time. It gives you more bandwidth. It gives you more sense of peace. It gives you more sense of safety. Like no amount of money can make you feel safe, but it can help. It can help give you choices. It can help you, you know, if you're self-employed and you need time off because of illness or to care for somebody or to be present, right? You don't need to worry. You can put things in place. It's a really great thing to have, and we often make it bad, or we make it wrong, or we make ourselves wrong for wanting it. And I don't think any of that's helpful. I also, unfortunately, don't think the matrix is going to disintegrate at the same speed I'd like it to. But I also kind of know that's a good thing because, like, we still need to have food on the shelves, right? And so I think learning to heal our relationship with money, which essentially is just an energy, is really good. Not just for us, but for all the little ones who are coming after us. Because money has been misused, because it's really powerful. Like the tobacco plant, like cacao, right? Like women, all these powerful things on the planet, right, get misused because we're all awesome. And I want to share the awesomeness of how you can relate with money, so you can be in a space where you can allow more in. I'm assuming people are here because they want to allow more in, not they want to get, I've got too much money, I'm just going to go to that money talk because like I just don't know what to do with it. I just check, it's like, does everybody here want some more money? Does anyone feel guilty about putting their hand up? Put all the hands up, you all want more money, hooray. Would you feel guilty? Just ask yourself, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but like, would you feel guilty putting your hand up to say you want more love? Or you want a deeper connection with God, goddess, or spirit? Would you feel guilty saying that you want to be healthier, or you want to be more loving or more giving? It's interesting how we can make ourselves wrong for wanting more money, right? So, my name's Helen Millar. My company is called Heart Healer. Money isn't the only thing I talk about. I work with people on deep transformation. And my tagline of my company is head to heart living or head to heart leadership, whether I'm going into the business arena or whether I'm working with like my clients in teepees or crystal holding spaces. I hide the crystals when I put them under the suit, so they take me seriously. And I use slightly different words. And then I get excited and let them slip in. And they all go, you're telling me to take acid? No. I have been asked that in Oxbridge by a multi-billionaire leader. I was like, okay, I've got to be carried away. No, I have never taken acid. I'm not recommending acid. Psilocybin's not acid. Okay. So, can I ask, like, why, if somebody feels to share, just anyone want to just shout out, like, why are you here? Like, what called you to walk in to this TP and not a yoni egg one? Yeah.
Want to buy a camper van so I don't have to be in a tent at these things anymore.
Brilliant. Anyone else want a camper van? Great, camper vans all around. And what was your reason?
I recently took a big step and quit my job because I'm fed up of losing my energy all the time to someone, but now I'm skint.
Okay.
Absolutely skint.
Now you're available for more money to pour through you doing things you love. Yeah. Great. Anyone else looking to quit their job or have quit their job? Great. Big up that brave step, following your heart, head to heart.
To interject and say I'm proud of us for quitting our jobs.
Big up, sisters. Yeah.
So I have serious issues with the matrix, serious anger issues with the system, and I even have a belief in my head that money doesn't exist, because at the end of the day it's a promissory note. So I have massive anger around, I don't want to be part of this system that exploits everyone and perpetuates a wealth pyramid. And I just can't get over that.
So I'm totally going to talk about that, because I was in that space for a long time as well. You can come in if you're, Beck, feel free to come in. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I also, like, money doesn't exist, but that's also what's brilliant about it. Hang in, I'm coming to that bit. Yeah.
Yeah, on her note, I'm really interested in, so I've like gone through the making money spiritually and using Instagram and like have a lot of money, but I still feel there's like spiritual capitalism happening.
Oh yeah.
Where is the like integrity with making more, and really how available is it to everybody in that?
Yeah, great. So that is yes, there is all of the above is true, and integrity is only an inside job, right? Because somebody may have a certain way of, like, my toes curl and I feel a little bit when I see 6 figures in 6 weeks on Facebook, right? So if I ever get like that, like, just push me out the door, roll me in the bird poo, and it's like, Helen, you said you wouldn't do 6 figures in 6 weeks, right? I think it's BS. It might be somebody else's way, like, and that kind of, what isn't BS is the amount of, like, you can make crazy amount of money very fast because it's an energy, and it's an energy that likes to move fast. So that isn't. But unless you do the energy work and the self work to be able to hold more energy, it's why scientifically, sorry, I have a thing about science. Like, science is great, but science isn't good. So but they've done the science, which means it must be true, to say that people who win the lottery within 7 years, the majority of them have the same amount as before they won the lottery. And that's because money is an energy, and unless you build the muscles to hold more energy, you're going to lose it. It's going to move through you, right? So I'm going to talk about all of that. Yeah.
I'm interested in hearing you on taxes, because I've grown so much financially this year, but I'm giving half of it, and I'm like, what the heck?
I hear you.
So I'd like to hear you on that.
Okay, come to when I open it up at the end, we'll pick up on taxes. I'm just checking in before we go into any kind of questions, because I haven't started yet. Just checking why people are here, just to make sure.
So what I all seem to be perpetually in is expansion contraction. Go out, open, know I'm doing really important work, and then.
Okay, great. I'm going to use this as it segues beautifully into my first space, so I'm going to start that. And sorry for sisters who had their hands up, but there's other points where I'm going to come in and open it up again, so just bear with me. Because I could talk all day about this, so I'm going to make sure that we don't. But do feel free to come up and, I was going to say grab me. Do feel free to come up and give me a hug and say hello and talk to me at other points in the festival. I'm here till Sunday night as well. And you can grab me here. So the first place I want to start with is what I call poverty consciousness. And it is a space that I lived in intensely for a really long time. And it is it's a fear of money. It's a contraction around money. So it showed up for me in many of the ways I spoke about, like resenting how much everything was, also being obsessed with the cost of everything. So a friend would be like, hey, I'm going to Kilimanjaro next week, and I'd be like, great, how much are the flights? Oh right, and how much is it to do that? Did you get sponsorship? How much is the kit? How much do you have to tip? Oh, and it's just like, not interested in the trip, I was just totaling up the money, and then being like, well, but you're a freelancer too, like, how's business? Like, it's like I'm doing an audit on my friend who's just telling me that they're going to climb a mountain, right? Like, what the fuck, Helen? Right? But that was what was like my mind was like. And poverty consciousness is, you can also look at like how you're raised. Like I was raised with a really unhealthy mindset about money. The main thing, I was literally told by my mum, good people have jobs that work with people, and bad people have jobs that work with money. Right? It's really screwed up. It means that everybody who works in the banking or finance or corporate's a bad person. I mean, how much fun are dinner parties? Oh, you're a baddie. Primary school teacher, goodie. Right? You might be a narcissist primary school teacher, but you're a good person. Like, warped. I was also told repeatedly, you'll never get a mortgage. And that, not that she was going to help me, just never get a mortgage. Fuck you, Mum. It's all right. She's on the other side. She can laugh about it now. So yeah. So.
What about you, in order to have money, you really need to work really hard for it?
So I'm going to cover that in a second. You don't. You don't. And it's if I'm going to come into understanding divine feminine, divine masculine relationship with money, because we have both of those energies in us, and the having to work really hard for it is a legacy toxic energy of out of balance masculine. And it's not our power place as women to make money that way. But I'm going to stay in poverty consciousness for a moment. So poverty consciousness is seeing money as outside of ourselves, and it's like being a really small tap looking at a really massive ocean and trying to work out how many drops are in the ocean, right? It's not fathomable. And that way of relating with money is really unhealthy. And it's like, anybody ever been in like a meditation space or a plant ceremony or some kind of altered state where the mental mind is like trying to fathom how you've got your eyes closed, you're in a different dimension, and then there's other people around you all in different dimensions, but you're in a physical body, and your mental mind starts going, Wah! And then it kind of pops, and then 12 hours later you're like, oh my God, someone just lit the candle, I'm here, right? There's this bit where like the mental mind burns out, and that mental mind is poverty consciousness. And money is this energy field that is beyond the mental mind. And yet we've been trying to work with money through our mind space. And the mind is really helpful for tax returns and spreadsheets and outsourcing to people who enjoy those things if you don't. But the frequency of money and the energy of money doesn't sit in the mind. And this is why all of my work, this heart healer business I have, this head to heart living, is changing your orientation of your life, whether you want to change your money story, your love story, your sex story, anything, is taking it from the mind and taking it into the heart. And when we live from our heart, our mind is a wonderful servant, but it is a toxic master, because our mind is living through our trauma, our mind is living through our programming, our patterns, our ancestral baggage. Like, the mind is stuck in the matrix, and the heart knows that the matrix is just a dream, and we're living in this fun tango where sometimes we get our toes trod on, right? So I'm going to talk to both places because our minds are all in the space, but the juice is here, and your multi-millions or hundreds of thousands or a handful of tenors or whatever feels good and available to you that you're yearning for, you're available for, like, that is here. So poverty consciousness is a bit like relationships. So there are two ways that we can be out of balance with money. Poverty consciousness is one. I'm also somebody who suffered with massive eating disorders in my life. Really mirrored my relationship with money, right? I've experienced anorexia and bulimia. They're both different sides of the same coin. And anxious and avoidant attachment styles are both out of balance ways of being with ourself. Anybody read the book Attached? It's a great book. It's a great book. I really recommend it. I'm also dyslexic and have ADHD, so I love audiobooks. Big up audiobooks. I get to read again. So yeah, you can get it on, or you can get it, and it's really good to understand not just how you relate to lovers, relationships, but how you relate to friends, how you relate to yourself. And essentially, we're aiming for being securely attached. had a great day. He doesn't want to see me again. That's okay. That's okay. If he doesn't want to see me again, he's not the one. I can cope with that. I'm not going to freak out about the size of my bum, go on a crash diet or cry for weeks, right? That's okay. It was one day, blah, blah, blah. I'm good. Plenty more fish in the sea, all that stuff, right? We're aiming for securely attached. Oh, my husband wants to go on a stag do. That's cool. He needs to have male bonding time. I'm not going to be like, text me every 3 minutes. Don't go to strip clubs. Don't get too drunk, right? Or fine. I'm going to go on a hen do. I'm going to get shit-faced. I'm going to go to like Magic Mike. Okay? So when we are out of balance in relationships, if we're anxiously attached, it's like, why hasn't he texted me? Okay, there's 2 blue ticks. He hasn't responded, right? Okay? Or like, my girlfriends all went to dinner and they didn't invite me, right? It's anxious attachment. Or like, you might see it in other people, like, oh my God, why would my mom want me to call her every Sunday? That's too much. Or whatever it might be. Like, we feel this anxiety of something that we don't feel safe is fully going to come back to us. So we need to feel like it's with us all the time. And we can be like that with money, right? So what this shows up to with money is like, and what this can show up to with love is like, it's never enough. You said you loved me this morning, but this is 5 minutes later and I'm premenstrual. So say it again. Like you mean it. Right? Don't let go of my hand. I know it's sweaty, but please, having a moment. And with money, it's like, okay, I just got paid. This has got to go there. That has got to go there. How much does that leave? Oh my God, and it's Shania's birthday at the weekend. And oh my God, I can't afford. Like we get like this. So like, okay, I want to go for that job, but it's only going to pay me that much money. Or, oh, I haven't got enough clients. Or, oh, I've just done this great launch, but what about next season? Or like this really tense space. Does anyone ever feel like that around money? Yeah. And the alternative, and where this comes into is like, because the other half of my business is I talk to, and I work with multimillionaires, right? Or people who are uber successful in business, like global businesses. And I'm going to give you a little story about how I ended up doing this. It's hilarious. So I spent I was the little blonde 4-year-old who was like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be an actress. I never stopped saying it, right? It was my reason for staying alive. I kept on trying to leave the planet. I had no other reason for wanting to be on this planet as a teenager, apart from the fact I wanted to act. I didn't understand it. It was like God for me. It was like, oh, this is the thing. Done a lot of healing work around understanding that. And essentially, you know, I had huge amounts of unprocessed and unaware trauma in my body that I didn't know I was carrying. And when I was acting, it was a way of me alchemizing that to be of service, and also being seen when I wasn't being seen in my life, and all sorts of things that I can analyze it from now. I think the arts are amazing. I think they're transformative. I think we look about the matrix. The system in the arts is up, but that's because there's such magic there. And when we find magic, it's also covered with a lot of fucked upness. Like amazing power places on the city, in the world, right? Like the Middle East, amazing energy. Like what the hell are they trying to do to that? You know, all this crap on top of it. So I was this actress, and I hated money. Because I was told bad people made money and good people didn't, right? And I was a good person because I was in the arts, and everyone in the arts is poor, more or less, right? And unless they're not, they're bad, right? Bad actors. Or they're nepotism, right? So I had the struggling artist archetype down. And I was talented, and I got into a really good drama school, and then I survived. It was a very tough school. Its nickname was Trauma Centre. Like, tell me I'm shit more. Yes. Really. And then I won an award, I got a big agent, and I was going up for all these gigs. And through winning this award, I met this guy who used to work for American Express. He had a midlife crisis. He decided he wanted to be a famous actor. And then he realized within a year that he wasn't going to be Brad Pitt. Didn't look anything like Brad Pitt, but he realized that actually, because he was uber successful in American Express, that didn't necessarily relate to Hollywood. And he decided to start a business taking actors to work with CEOs in American Express to help them communicate better. Because he was like, oh my God, you guys can all just do these things through your training that these people really need, because then people in American Express will be more successful, make more money. And so I was in my early 20s, and he was like, oh, Helen, you're like this wild child. You don't care about money. You have zero respect for their titles. That'll be great. They won't know what to do with you. You'll shake shit up and I'll look really cool. So I was like, you're going to pay me how much to just tell them how to make eye contact? Okay. So I went into that space with a chip on my shoulder about them, all these bad people. And because I didn't like them and I didn't respect what they did or who they were, they kind of got off on that because they were used to people just bowing down to this big successful like empire that they were all in. Anyway, it's really weird dynamic reflecting on it now. I was really unconscious at that point in my life. But that led me to working with like many people. And then I did lots of training, and then I got, much better, and I started healing and, liking people. And so that kind of blossomed into how I now am in that space. And I speak to international business leaders who are doing executive MBAs at Oxford, London Business School, blah, blah, other places, other businesses. But I go into these spaces. It's really interesting because I specialize in emotional intelligence, which is the key to open the door to really talk to you, what I'm talking about you, which is self-love and deep transformation. And so the reason that I bring that up is because talking about this out of balance relationship, these are people who have houses in like every country in the world. Like, there's somebody who commutes from Australia once a month to come and hear people speak. Like, they all fly first class. Like, money is not an object for them, but some of them feel broke, right? Some of them can't get enough. And it's the same anxiety. It's the same, don't let go of my hand, right? It's the same, tell me you love me, put another 0 on it. It's the same energy. And unless we come into balance, it doesn't matter if it's a tenner or 10 billion, it's never going to be enough. The other out of balanceness of that is being avoidant in our attachment style. So it's like, okay, fine, I'm going to go over here. I don't need you. Oh, he's texted me. Satisfaction. I'm not going to text back for 3 days. Make it 4. Keep him hanging, right? It's that thing. It's playing hard to get in a toxic way, not in a boundaried, grounded, like, oh, I'm really busy. I've got to focus on work right now. I'm glad he's sending him a love vibe. Going to get back to him when it's not going to unbalance my email, right? That's the difference. And it's this sense of like pushing it away. And so it's also when somebody starts to like you a lot, and you can kind of you can freak out and you can end it and you can sabotage the relationship, and then you can go to therapy and go, why did I do that? He was a good one. Come back. I'm sane now. I say I love you back now. Right? And we can swing between the two, and we can swing between the two with money. And how this avoidance style with money can show up is that we get it and then we don't want to keep it. So we give it away. So we spend it on other people. So I've worked with a client who, she sold a house. She had loads of money. The plan was to buy another house, but she ended up taking all her friends on holiday and spending the deposit. And I'm being like, why did I do that? It's because when when we don't work on the muscle, the self-worth to feel safe holding that amount of money / love / energy, we feel like, oh, I need to be sick. I need to purge it out. I need to get rid of it, right? And so it's how do we stay securely attached with the energy, the love, the food, right? The alcohol. How do I know when I've had one drink's enough? I don't need to kind of chase the wave and get pissed. I don't need to completely stop drinking, although both are fine. But it's like, how do we stay in balance with that? And my way that I have found, get ready for potentially tensing of buttocks, is God. You might say goddess, you might say Allah, you might say any of the other words, right? But it was understanding that no money, no love, no energy is coming at me or to me from anything but God. So, my boss isn't paying me. God is giving me money through my boss. That inheritance hasn't just got me out of debt. That is God bailing me out through sending it through an inheritance. Right? It's this sense that when I'm on my knees and I'm really freaking out and there's no food in the fridge and the baby's crying, I don't, from that place of fear, look at where I can get a credit card even though my credit score's tanked. I get on my knees and I pray. And it's going there before I go to Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever awake search engine you use, right? That has been the game changer for me. And that, when I say God, let me explain what I mean, because it took me a long time to use that word. I was a Buddhist leader for a long time, and that word was like the Antichrist in my practice. But for me, God is the conscious awareness that is without gender, that is so extraordinary that it birthed not only this planet, but like a never-ending galaxy of more planets in space than there are grains of sand on this planet. And like, we all have different fingerprints, and every human being that there are billions of, depending what version of history you think's true, but billions and billions of us have all had different fingerprints and all look completely different and all have eyelashes. And I existed as an egg in my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother's womb, and I even have that, and that trees exist and that we can talk to them. Another workshop I run, and you know, like that food, like strawberries, like the pattern on strawberries and the pattern on pineapples, like it's not an accident. Like this, I couldn't design this. Like, that's extraordinary. And then you go into plant medicine world, or you go into deep meditation, or you go into altered states. It's like, what? Beings! It's not just us and animals, right? And creativity, and like, this is not like happy design or happy accident or whatever words people use, in my opinion, right? And with anything I say, take what helps, chuck the rest in the bin. Put it on a different shelf and come back to it later, whatever you want. But yeah.
Sorry, it's relevant to.
Yeah.
How do you go to God like that when you feel like? Sorry if I get emotional. When you feel abandoned by God for the money struggles, when I'd put my trust in prayer before and then it didn't happen. I'm just trying to get that faith back. Don't get me wrong, I'm so connected with God and everything, but in regards to money, there is that abandonment there.
Great question, thank you. I feel...
Sorry.
No, it's welcome. Like, thank you. And the tears are...
There's a lot of suffering.
Great, yeah, I hear you.
Sorry.
It's really welcome, and I think you're voicing what is in the field. So thank you for being that voice and stopping my flow because it let me speak
just had to
this.
ask.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a major thing for me.
Yeah, totally. Anyone else feel that? Yeah, great, right? I lived in that space for a long time too, and how I can speak to how I changed it. One, it wasn't on my timeline, it was on someone else's. I spent like a good decade doing my gratitude diary and all of the stuff. What shifted it for me was a couple of things, a bit like Kaplunk, right? Different sticks. One was getting massively out of my comfort zone and investing beyond my means to work with somebody who'd done it, right? And scaring myself shitless that I was going to just look at money, not just look at ancestral healing, not just look at where's my husband, but look at money and pay a lot of money to look at that with somebody. That was one thing I did. Two was moving into understanding gratitude in the same way that I learned to brush my teeth every day, but not just through here, but through here, and getting into the energy and striving, like I might have strived in my 20s to try and get a six-pack that never appeared, striving to feel gratitude so I could taste it rather than it be an academic exercise. And then through there, seeing how much I had that would gone out of my blinkered awareness because I was focusing on what I didn't have. And when I moved into, I've got enough, I've got shitloads, more can come in because the tension around it relaxes. And when you're relaxed, it's like having a really good massage, that knot can be worked out. But when you're lying there going, get the knot out, nothing's going to move.
How do you move into that energy of already having it when you're struggling so much?
You could spend time meditating on something that you own that's beautiful. You can enjoy, okay, I can only afford, crap this or crap that, or the 27p white loaf bread, and actually I want to be on organic sourdough, but I'm going to eat this slice of bread and taste it and just be so grateful for every grain that grew in the loaf that came there, every human being that milled it, everybody who designed the bits in the factory that allowed it to be milled, the people who got the oil into the van, that got the van to Aldi, the people who work in Aldi, who stacked the shelves, the people who got it to the checkout, the people who built the vehicle or the bus or the car or the shoes that I walked home with it in, the people who built the toaster so that I get calories in my body that are going to feed my body, and this body is from God and that I'm provided for in this present moment and I've got food in my belly, and thank you for that slice of bread.
Amen.
Yeah.
I guess if I really think about it, I have been worse off because I was homeless with a 2-year-old. And I do forget how far I've come.
Right.
But when you've got 2 kids and you're a single mum and both have special needs, so I run my own business, but it's difficult working around that. I can't work much. It's a struggle, and I enter this survival mode all the time, and it's like I try and stop, but I'm stuck. But that's helpful. Thank you, what you said.
And I also believe, we live in a world where miracles happen every day, and we don't recognise them. And massive miracles I've also witnessed, and being aware that that's a possibility, and that our mind doesn't want us to know it's a possibility, but 2-ton trucks can fall on babies and women have pushed them off because they're not thinking about the obstacle, they're thinking about the love for the child. And that love is superhuman. And we can do the same with money and lift that baggage off and get the pot of gold. But it's taking our mind to the gym in the same way beating an addiction, breaking out of an eating pattern, forgiving an abuser, whatever it is a mental thing, and it's only when divine timing is there for each of us, that we can flip that switch and lift that lorry off, whatever the lorry is for each of us. And I also have come to terms, or like come to terms isn't the right expression, I've also got to a place with my relationship with myself and God and the things that I've gone through in life to understand that we've all been put in a gym, and some of us have much stronger like health karma or trauma karma or financial karma. And it's like, okay, Helen, you've got the leg press for life, or you've got the dumbbells for life, or you've got the treadmill for life. And like, that is your karma thing. But actually, how do I get to be on the treadmill going, woohoo, yeah, make it faster. I can beat this. Like, make it faster. Like, yeah, give me a heavier weight. Give me a heavier weight. Because God is always going to challenge us. And that challenge is like a test. Like, how much faith, how deeper can we go? How much faith can we have? And when I first started practicing Buddhism and I didn't understand why I was chanting this thing, I didn't know what Buddhism really was, and was just saying this thing and it was changing me. And I went to the center and I was crying and I was chanting and I was crying and I was chanting, and this person said, "You're new, aren't you?" And I, yeah, 2 weeks, and he dumped me and I only did it because he was cool, and now I can't stop doing it and I don't know what I'm doing. Basically, I met a guy on Tinder who chanted and was a Buddhist practitioner, and I picked it up off him to be cool. And then he dumped me, but I was still doing this thing and I didn't know what I was doing, but I couldn't stop because it changed my life. And I've done everything else about it on my journey. And I was given this wonderful analogy, which has really stuck with me, that practicing Buddhism, or you could just say living, is like going to the beach and holding your surfboard and wanting to be a really good surfer, but like getting in the sea and then getting angry there are waves. And being like, I want a flat sea, I want it calm, I don't actually want to get wet. Why is my life so hot? There's water in the sea, right? But actually, if we approach life and we approach our challenges, and it's not easy, by going, right, I'm here to be a surfer. Let me work out how to stand on the board. Then let me work out how to ride a wave. And then, oh my God, this is actually fun, and I look cool. Give me a bigger wave, right? Take photos of me on the wave, right? Like, I'm going to risk breaking my leg catching this one, but fuck it, right? I'm going to risk losing shitloads of money going for this thing, but fuck it, right? Taking risk is also, this is a big thing. Can we open the doors? Because it's getting a bit steamy. Thank you. So, this stays in with the anxious and the avoidant, right? When we're anxiously attached, if anyone gets a bit cold, just put your hands up and we'll shut them. When we're anxiously attached with money, we don't take risks with it, right? I got a credit card because I had a crap credit score, because I was told it was a thing. You have to this is the Matrix being screwy, right? You have to get in debt to get, anyway, right? But now I just laugh at the Matrix. Like, you want me to play your game? Okay, I'm going to play your game, right? To an extent. And then I notice my own self, because I have a massive anarchist in me, right? If there's an arrow going, walk that way around the supermarket, I'm going to dance backwards in the opposite direction, right? 2 meters? I'm sorry, that doesn't exist for me. The thing about credit cards and risk and things like this. Okay, so I would take risks in myself. Like, I would jump out of a plane, I would bungee jump, but I wouldn't take any risks with money. I got a credit card to try and get a better credit score, but I would never put anything on it because I was raised to think that was bad people, right? But also the risk thing for me was because fundamentally my unconscious belief was that I never saw a future where I was ever going to have more than I did now, right? it was going to be like this, or possibly like that, probably like that. And so I could never let go of any money. I could never spend any money. And I was self-employed, so I never knew where the next paycheck was ever coming from. The longest I ever knew how much I was going to get paid was a 6-month contract I had in the West End. But normally my contracts were 2 days, a month, max, 2 months. And I've lived like that my whole life, right? I've never worked for a 9-to-5 or a corporate. Like I'm a freelancer, I'm a sole trader, I have my own business. I now employ other people. And yet I still never know where my next, I never know, but I know, like, where money's going to come from, right? So I would never in the past take risks, because I was like, okay, well, I will, this is how toxic my mindset was, but this was my first step. Okay, this story, it might feel like I'm going off on a tangent, but it's going to come back, right? Like Eddie Izzard old school. So I was in a phase in my life where I was drinking a lot of plant medicine. And one of the shamans who I drank with was suddenly sent out an email that wasn't about like the next retreat, but was about her doing a Q&A talk online with this other woman who was a business coach. And I was like, what? It's the dark side. I'm down with shadow work, but that. Anyway, I said, what's this on? So I remember like grating my carrot in my kitchen and hoping none of my flatmates walked in, because I was still like undercover about all these weekends away with sheepskin. That I wasn't telling them what I was doing. I was a vegan. I am not meant to have sheepskin. I'm grating my carrot, and I put on this interview, and there's my shaman, and she's interviewing this woman who also drinks plant medicine, but is talking about money. And I don't even remember anything she said, but I just knew I was meant to work with her. Like, I've got, sometimes in my life, like I feel like God's boot gets on my bum and goes, Helen, that place, right? And I had one of those. I had one of those when I went to the jungle, and I went my first ayahuasca ceremony. It was like, I don't drink plant medicine anymore, but at that point in my life, like God went, there. My next one is climbing Kilimanjaro. There. I don't know why. I've never climbed a mountain, but I meant to do that next, right? And it was to work with this coach. And I was like, I'm looking to heal my childhood. I'm not looking for more money, because I still saw money as bad in the Matrix. And I was on this conversation. She said, look, this is how you get in touch with me. And I called her up and I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but like, I want to know more. And she had to make it so easy for me because I wouldn't take a risk. She told me how much the course was. I've now invested like 100 times how much that was. But that for me, at that point, I was like, I could see investing in drinking plant medicine was healing like the family line. But like, I had never bought myself any clothing that cost more than 50 quid. Like, let alone that amount of money. I'd never bought a plane, I'd never bought a ticket, a car, I'd never bought a property. Like, what? But so she was like, okay, well, you can pay me in 3 installments and you can do the first month. And if you don't enjoy the first month, you don't think it's value for money, I'll give you a refund on the first month. So it won't have cost you anything. Because she could sense I just could not take any risk with money. And I, in my toxic mind, this is how shadowy it get, I'm going to embarrass myself a lot, went, great. I can get the first month. I can do the whole fucking course in the first month. Watch all the videos, read all the thing, and then tell her I'm not enjoying it, haven't got anything for it, and get the refund. Anybody else ever been as shitty as that? Right? That's where I was at. And then I didn't even get sent the invoice for the payment. And part of me went, I don't have to pay. I can get it for free. And then I turned up to the calls, and fuck, it was good. She was amazing. Shit was happening. It was like being in ceremony, right? And things started to change. And I was like, I can't not be there. I can't not do it. I want to pay. I want to do it. I want to do it. And then I paid her for 2 hours of her time. And I paid her £1,000 for that, right? And then I've paid her, I won't tell you how, so much more, right? But every single penny I've invested in every single penny I've invested in good therapy in good healing, in good food, is worth 100 times and has brought me over 100 times what I've invested. But because I've changed so much. If you told me 10 years ago I'd be sitting in a teepee talking to women about how to make money, I would have said you needed to be sectioned, right? And I don't even believe sectioning works. I think it's crap, right? It's a matrix gone wrong again, right? So but it's the next right breadcrumb. But actually the leap in taking a risk is where the change is. Because when you're taking a risk, if it is not reckless, not from like, oh my God, I'm going to get really disassociated, really disembodied, get a credit card, go around Oxford Street and just buy loads of shit and then come home and have a hangover about what the fuck did I just do? Like binging with food, right? Like any kind of thing where we dissociate and we go a bit crazy. I'm not recommending that. But if you get your heart going, you can launch the business. This is your dream. You can leave the job, right? If your heart is going, you need to listen to me now, right? If you're getting one of those moments and it involves getting a credit card or selling a house or a car or going all in on something, even if you don't know what the end result is, jumping out the plane and just trusting that the parachute's gonna work, right? Like that leap is where I believe God gets excited, the universe field responds, because that leap is listening to the future self that is who you came here to be, and all time is now, right? So that future self of you exists with the husband or the money or the car. It's the same leap as the first date in 15 years when you've grown up with nothing but abuse, right? Trusting that that man is not going to try and kill you. Like, it's that same giant leap of, right, I'm going to get a loan from the bank and start this business. And I'm shit scared, but my heart is calling me, right? That leap is jumping a timeline, and it's that leap and the uncomfortableness of that leap that is the magic and the medicine that allows you to very quickly go and reality change like that. But taking that leap is scary. And when we don't take that leap, is how I spent decades going 20 tabs open at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to save a £5. Right? It's that leap that kept me going around the supermarkets only buying yellow sticker food. You had a question?
It's so nuanced what you're saying.
Yeah.
And there was something, I thought it was beautiful when you said, if you can, when you said, if you have good therapy or good help in some version, I've made 100 over, whatever it is, whether it's money or something else. And obviously you're talking about the courage and the risk and the leaping. I get all that. But there is that sweet spot of, is it good? You can step to the edge and you can leap and take a risk with an experience or with someone who walks through the door who appears to be a helper or a healer or something like that. But there is really that uncertain bit of whether this is really a good energy coming into your life, or because you've got your backpack on with lots of rocks, in a way what's coming through the door is actually really more of a shadow energy. And of course it's through a shadow energy experience you can also grow.
Yeah.
But that to me is the really difficult stuff.
So my medicine for this is everything is always working in my favour. The guy who beat the shit out of me was working in my favour, because it got me to a point in my life where I was like, how did I end up here? I got to change shit, right? The fact I never fitted in because shit happened in my childhood meant that I learned to walk my own path and develop a load of muscles and a load of strength that helps me lead other people or support other people. Like, we all got given different weights and some we haven't discovered yet. And then it might be like, Buck, I just stubbed my toe. Oh, there's a 20K. I'm going to work out how to lift that one. And I have met people and had experiences where I've been burned, but I've learned. I've been enjoying getting burnt, but I think if we're trying to walk through a life without getting burnt or stubbing our toe, like that's the wave and the water. And the more that we, like, I know I drank a lot of plant medicine. I don't drink plant medicine anymore because I got to a point where I couldn't find somebody who, for me, in my awareness at that point, was holding space in a way that I needed it to be held to go as deep as I was going. So I stopped. But that medicine's still in me and it's still working. And it's like, I work, when I meet, I'm not searching for like the next coach or the next, I just know that when I meet that person and it's a yes, it's like, bam. Like, I'm really happy not being in a relationship, but fuck me, would love a husband. A real sacred union. But I'm not in a place of unsecure and desperation searching for it. But I trust that as every other need has been met in divine timing, that need is coming too. Because I don't feel that my life path is going to be alone forever. I don't know if my life path involves children or not, but I know that it doesn't involve non-union. And I have a knowing about that. So yes, it is really nuanced, but that's why for me, investing with somebody who at the consciousness level of where I was at that point, whether it was the therapist I found in my early 30s or the coach I found or a certain yoga modality at a certain point, like forever, however many years that ran with me until I shifted and changed and need something else, I trusted that. It's not to say that that therapist I had in my early 30s wasn't good, but it doesn't resonate with where I am now because I've changed. It's like we're all climbing Ramdas, right? We're all helping each other home. We're all helping each other up the mountain. And it's like, there's a while where like you're pulling on this person's rope and then you pass them and then you're helping someone else is helping you up to the next bit. So, and even if they drop the rope, like God's not gonna let you, like what's the worst that can happen? We die. We're all gonna die anyway, and life's eternal. And then we get to sit on the sofa of life and watch it all replay and laugh at our falls and our plays. I don't know if that happens or not, but who knows? But I do believe life's eternal. I'm just going to check where I am on time. Okay, cool. I've got 15-ish minutes. I want to do some questions. I just want to do a little in my head to make sure I've covered my pillars that I really wanted to cover, because I always do it this way. I want to talk about money not existing. It's really good. The risk is normally the last thing I come to, so that's cool. Yes, I just want to touch on money not existing, right? So did anyone get burnt by crypto? Unrealized losses is my mantra. If I just leave it in there, it might all come back again. That was fun for a while, and then it was not. So like the matrix and money, like it's so corrupt, right? But my antidote to that is, because it doesn't exist, and it also speaks to everybody on the planet, like the future we are making up moment by moment, right? As a collective consciousness. There isn't, I think subconsciously we still believe in the narrative that it's already paved out, and probably by the baddies, right? And that we have to kind of somehow work our way through this maze they've already created and kind of like duck and weave through the bushes and get scratched because we're in our kaftans and have feathers and sage sticks and we're not following the straight path, right? And it's not like we're dreaming this collective dream moment by moment. And in this dream, so far, we've got money because it's really helpful, right? I don't want to carry around loads of bananas, no matter how much I love them, in case you want to trade a pear or an apple, because sometimes I want stilettos and you might not like bananas, right? So money is great. It works. It serves its purpose. Like, it's this thing we all collect. It's a myth we all collectively agree to believe is real, and we swap things around the myth, right? It doesn't exist. Especially doesn't exist since we came off the gold reserve, and it's all made up. And they don't actually print anything really anymore, and they're trying to get rid of cash. That's not actually going to work, I don't think. But it's all made up. And yeah, the idea of central banking digital currencies are fucked. But at the same point, God is more powerful than the devil, right? Or Satan, or the darkness, or Wetiko, or whatever your word is for the fundamental energy in life that is the stubbing of the toe. Like, when I started practicing Buddhism, you chant this thing called a gohonzon. It's a scroll. It's written in Sanskrit and ancient Japanese. And it's supposed to represent all of the universe. And you're chanting it to bring your life in relationship with the whole of the universe. And they were like, somebody said to me when I was like crying and pleading and help me in front of, on my knees in front of the gohonzon, somebody said, Helen, do you want to show me to show you which bit represents like fundamental darkness, like all the evil, right? All of the evil you can ever think of is termed in fundamental darkness. I was like, yes, imagining them to go, all of this, right? And they went, that tiny little bit there. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, and you're focusing on that tiny little bit there. And it's the same with the money system, right? If it's unlimited, if it's made up, if God is allowing it to be here, if it's an ocean of possibility, like, I invite you all, if you feel safe, to close your eyes, and if not, just focusing on near your knees. And imagining that behind you is the most largest expanse of water that you can imagine. And you can choose to turn round and look at that water. And you can choose to go towards that water with a teaspoon or a bucket or an oil tanker or a hose to fill up an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and allow that water through to your life. And no matter how much water you take, how many trips with the teaspoon, how many trips with the bucket, how many Olympic-sized swimming pools you fill up, that water is always going to be abundant and inevitable, and it cannot dry up. Like, until there is no more universe, until there is no more life, that water is forever. And you taking for your entire life from this water does not impact on a single other human being, plant or animal on this planet. Every single consciousness has its own resource. That's money. That's love, right? No matter how much love you give, how much love you take, there's always more. And money is the same. So I invite you to break through any discomfort with your breath and run into the sea with whatever receptacle you'd like, and fill your life up with it. And you can just leave the tap in there, the hose in there. You can leave it all connected. You can just turn it on. And breathe into your heart and come into this place, especially if you're feeling unstable or nervous. And I'm going to offer a prayer. Dear God, thank you so much for every single one of us. Thank you to all of the parents and caregivers for generations in perpetuity who have walked this land before us. Thank you so much that we are here to change this narrative, that we can know ourselves as children of this existence and this reality, and that none of us are a mistake. None of us are an accident. We have all been intricately designed with all our spotty bums and growing hairs and beauty to be here in this fundamental, unfathomable universe, multidimensional reality that also contains the matrix, playing this game that you have dreamt, knowing that we cannot get it wrong because it's an adventure. Thank you so much for all the knocks and challenges, because it's brought us to this point here, knowing that the future is not yet written, and that life can get sweeter and sweeter as we can allow more in and soften and open up our prayer and our hearts to allow more love in and out, more life in and out, more money in and out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And taking a deep breath in and coming into your own heart and offering up any other prayer that you have in your cells that work their way into your throat, and you can speak quietly in your mind, in your heart, you can whisper it, you can say it out loud, you can plant it into the field with a thanks for what you have and a request, a juicy offering. I would love to meet my beloved on this 40th year on the planet in my life. And what other dreams and wishes and desires? And when you feel complete, placing your hands over your heart or over your womb, coming into prayer, maybe, if that feels good. And trusting that all the texts, all the teachings say no prayer goes unanswered. It's just a matter of time and repetition, for as long as that prayer is true for you. What choices would you be making this week if you knew that prayer being answered was an inevitability? How much foot off the gas would you take, or how much more foot on the gas would you do? And allowing your hands to reach across your chest so you're coming into an embrace of yourself. And tapping your hands on the tops of your arms, and if you want to, opening your eyes. This is the butterfly tap. This balances the left and right hemispheres of our brain. When we get into anxiety or tension, this allows our system to find safety. You are safe, you are loved, you can't get it wrong. And when it feels good, come back to yourself. I know somebody personally who came from a poor working class background and became a multi-millionaire in oil. And I met him, I judged him a lot. And he lost it all. Right? He went back, right? But he'd set up a business. It wasn't, but he had to go bankrupt. And then he started another business and he became a multi-millionaire again. And then he went bankrupt. And then he did it again. But that's the game he plays in, right? That's his bandwidth. And each of us is doing that in our own bandwidth, right? It's how big you're making your bandwidth, right? That's his choice. Like, it might be, I'm going to put a holiday to Ibiza to do a Kundalini retreat on a credit card and pay that back. Bandwidth. It might be I'm going to get a loan from the bank to buy a house, mortgage, bandwidth. It might be, but we're all already doing it. But if you're in discomfort with money, you're looking at a different bandwidth that you want, but not taking the action yet to shift it. And my invitation is to come into a place of knowing you are worthy to shift it, that it is a game, that it isn't real, and that you get to work with one foot of it being real and grounded and prayerful and sensible. Like, I don't particularly enjoy the nitty-gritty of taxes, right? But I play a game with it. Well, I also have an accountant because I kind of the actual thing, but I also want to understand it before I get them involved, because I think it's avoidant energy to go, you deal with everything, I don't want to, right? I'm a little girl, I just want to spend it, I don't want to look at it, right? That's avoidant energy. So I have spreadsheets, but I find I can get tense, right? I can get tense, and when, like, if I have an amazing money day and lots comes in, like, I can get a bit like, oh, right? It's like when a relationship moves a bit too fast, I can find myself going, oh, do I still feel safe? So I make myself cacao. I get some great incense going. I light a candle. I open my laptop. I make it a prayer. I allow my nervous system to be in sacred relationship with my spreadsheet. And I resist the urge to go and look in the fridge 5 times. Right? Stay here, Helen. There's nothing to run away from. And I try to understand it. It's what I did with crypto as well. But I didn't do it enough. I kind of just got much more into the game with crypto. Nothing felt real. And there's consequences to everything we do, right? So, but it's all in a game. It's all an adventure. So I do that, and then I pass it over to my accountant and go, you do it in whatever language they need it, because I'm gonna, or, you know, there's things that you can do. I'm just going to give you some quick hacks and tips to hopefully take away with some shifts that you could start doing this week. To take yourself, if you're feeling broke, like, okay, so maybe your budget is little, right? But you might want to walk around Whole Foods and be like, oh, they've got little machines that spritz the food, right? So everything looks dewy. And that means that the peach that's £5.99 is worth it because it's got dew on it, right? Or whatever Whole Foods are at these days. Or it might be, I'm going to go, okay, I'm on Greg's coffee price budget, but I'm going to go sit in the Savoy and get a glass of water and read my book and absorb the opulence and the energy, and get a black coffee and sit here and do my business plan and feel worthy and allow my nervous system to calibrate in that space. Or it might be in a beautiful forest, or it might be that you want to take yourself around some designer's clothes label and look at, like, it's just breaking down all the spaces and the places that you have made wrong or other or not yours. Because you may have the money in the bank to spend a night at the Savoy, but not choose to spend it because that's not your kind of hotel. Or you want to invest in something else. It's not, my relationship with money is not like, oh, I can now afford a designer label or something, so I buy designer labels. I might choose to buy a charity shop. It's about what feels good for you and what feels right. And it might be that you choose to wear a pair of £350 jeans and a £199 t-shirt. Great. It's not to do with the cost. It's to do with the freedom and the way you place the value. And why I think this is so important, and why I went way out of my comfort zone, because I speak about a lot of things and I work with people on a lot of things. And also why I was really shocked. The cost of living crisis really pissed me off, like, because it was all I was hearing people talk about. And it's just another matrix game, right? Like, depending on what your opinion was about what the illness that was going around in the last few years was and how scared or not scared we should be about that. It's another matrix thing, right? Same with what your thoughts are about what's happening with the environment. It's another matrix. It can be another matrix thing. Like, how much fear you allow in is down to you and how deep your prayer is and how deep your trust is. So if, you know, vegan Kit Kats have always been twice as expensive as normal Kit Kats. I don't know why. Same with Magnums. But like, if they're all going to cost 3 times as much, why don't I get play in the reality that my bank balance can increase that much? And put my energy, rather than being cross at the matrix, into how can I play this game in a different way. And the fact that we now have access to the internet means that there are ridiculous amounts of possibilities about how we can make that happen. So when I was seeing a great therapist, and I think he was getting very bored of me going on about money. Actually, I'm just going to tell you a quick therapy story. One thing that money has really done for me is allowed me to invest in myself really well. So I now have a great therapist, a great coach, and a great personal trainer. And I buy organic food most of the time. It's like my wins for me. That makes me feel like a multi-billionaire, right? Like, those needs being met for me are my important ones. So there was a point in my life where I'd gone through some major shit. And I'm sure most people in here have. It's not a thingy. Like, you know, it's generally why we break out of the matrix in the first place, right? Because everything stops working for us. And I'd gone to see this therapist and I was sobbing. And I looked up, and I've been seeing her for a year. I looked up and she was crying. And I was like, why are you crying? And she's like, because I thought you'd be better by now. Right. That's what money can do. Poverty consciousness. I felt like I had to pay the third-year student who was half the price, and I resented every penny I was paying her. And that was the level of therapy I got, right? Telling me I should be better by now, right?